Coming up on episode 126 of the Behind the Back podcast. It's a jam-packed episode, guys. We've been on a little hiatus, so we got to catch up on. We're doing NBA playoff talk. We got Kings talk. We got Eagles and Niners. We talk about the draft. We give our grade for the Kings and how their season ended and why you guys might be surprised how surprisingly positive we're going to be when we talk about the Sacramento Kings and their future. But with that being said, guys, it's going to be a fun-filled episode, so let's get it. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Behind the Back podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Marcos Conan Negron, and beside me here, as always, is Ben, the Jet. Rats, Ben, we took a little bit of hiatus. Had to make sure you were 100% coming off your wisdom teeth removal. How are you feeling now?
I'm doing a lot better, but man, that 2-3 week stretch was some of the worst pain I've ever been in. So I had an impacted wisdom tooth, so it had to be this whole thing. It was like a whole procedure. I remember waking up and I remembered who my girlfriend was, but I didn't recognize her at first.
No
It was
way.
weird. And so I was like, "Who are you?" And then I was like, "You're super pretty." And then I was doing Spider-Man stuff. So it was a wild experience, but I am feeling a lot better now.
That's great, dude. How long was the true recovery process of all? When did you start feeling better?
I only started feeling better this week.
Jeez.
And that's, it was about 16 days later that I started really feeling like myself again.
Yeah, that's a long recovery time.
Sucks.
So yeah, we had to make sure he was good, guys. So now we're back in action. A lot has happened. Last time we talked, Arizona lost humiliatingly to Michigan, and Michigan ended up winning the title. Congrats to them. That's awesome.
At least you guys lost to the champion.
Yeah,
it always
exactly.
feels better.
It felt like everyone knew the winner of that game was going to be the champion. It was a good game, though. UConn kept it closer than I thought.
Yeah.
And then what? Rory, back-to-back Masters winner. That's cool. Good for him.
I called that.
Yeah.
I did call that. I didn't say it out loud to anybody, but I knew Rory was cooking coming in, and there was something I saw that he took the last two big tournaments off and just spent time with his family, with his daughter, doing some personal golf.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, he's locked. He's ready for this.
Yeah. See, that's awesome. So yeah, good for him. Yeah, so we've missed a lot of stuff, but now we're here, and we're going to start with one of our many topics that we're going into today, because we have a lot to catch up on, guys. But we're going to start with the NBA playoffs, because they're here. Play-in's happening now. We're going to be upfront with you guys. We don't think anyone who's winning this play-in is going to win a series here. So we're going to talk our way into this with our official NBA bracket here. So we're going to pull it up. All right. So now we got this here. We're going to start from the top. So we're going to make our picks, lock this in. This is for the BTB Pod for the Pick'em Challenge. So we will see how this turns out. I think we're going to be perfect, just like how we were, March Madness.
Absolutely. Agreed.
So we'll start with this one. They got some games going on. We saw the Suns lose yesterday to Portland, so they're in this round. But do we think the Thunder's going to lose to any one of the three teams?
No.
The Thunder, the Warriors, the Clippers, or the Suns?
This is light. No. This is Thunder in 4, maybe 5.
I know, depending on the matchup. I'll do 4. I think it will be a sweep. That's a good point. Wait, actually, if we're trying to be completely accurate, 4 or 5. What do we really think here? Do we think it'll be a sweep for any one of these teams? I guess if they get the Clippers, it might not be, because Kawhi might win them a game.
Even the Warriors, you could say that Curry could snap for a game, right?
Right.
You could say the same about Devin Booker. All right, let's give him a game.
Give him a game. Yeah. All right. Well, we got the Lakers and Rockets. Lakers obviously dealing with some injuries, but Luka might be back. But Reeves has been out for a while. It's been kind of LeBron. This feels like a true LeBron versus KD matchup. So do we think the Rockets are favored? Do we agree with that? Do we think the Rockets are going to win this thing?
I personally do. I think the Rockets are the more complete and healthy team right now.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, the Lakers, they went on a bit of a run towards the end of the season. But these injuries, it's not nothing. And even Bron's going in banged up. So
yeah. Do we think, okay, so if we got Houston winning, do we think they're going to give them a series? Make it 6 games? Or
I think 6. 6 feels right. I think you can assume the Lakers probably win 2 at home.
Yeah.
Right.
You can see that.
So Yeah, I think 6 games feels right.
Perfect. So then we move on to probably the series of the Western Conference to start, Nuggets and Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards coming back from a knee injury that he's been taking a lot of rest off for, so he's going to come in pretty fresh.
Pretty fresh.
This was a series these past couple playoffs that have really come down to the wires. So do we think the Nuggets are going away with this, or do we think the Timberwolves are winning?
It's interesting. Like, it picked by 82% of the fans the Nuggets are to win.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I actually think this is going to be the best series in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
For sure.
I think this is going to be 6 or 7 games. But look, I mean, the Nuggets are kind of on another level post All-Star break.
I know. I was thinking that too.
So I feel like the Nuggets, for me personally, would be the safer pick. And I feel 6 or 7 games. I wouldn't be mad at a 7-game series if you're thinking about how fresh like Anthony Edwards is going in.
Right. I think they can push to 7. I mean, this is a kind of series that usually does go there. So I think this would be a 7-game series, especially in the first round. Makes it hard, and we got the Spurs and the Trailblazers, and because this has been the matchup that people are talking about for round 2, right? And
Right.
the big story was that after De'Aaron Fox choked away 3 straight threes for a chance to win the game, it put the Spurs in this position where they could have avoided the Nuggets in round 2. So they could have so if they beat the Nuggets, they still might have to play the Thunder. So they could have avoided one of these two teams. But now they're here. So they went up against Trailblazers team who won in, a nice game-winning layup by Advia against the Suns.
Yeah.
So do we think they have enough juice to maybe make this a competitive series?
I mean, I think it'll be competitive. I think most of these games will be close between these two teams, but I
Mhm.
feel like down the stretch, like, you're just not going to have an answer for Wemby. And Spurs fans, I'm going to be honest with you, if you're even watching this right now, like, you have no idea what playoff Foxy is like.
Yeah.
We saw just one season of playoff Foxy, but he opened it up. If you remember, this was just 3 years ago, yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
He opened that thing up with basically 40 points. And he was the second highest debut playoff scoring game in NBA history at that point.
Yeah.
Like, Foxy had an incredible series against the Warriors, and you don't think he was itching to get back to the playoffs since then?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be locked. I think those 3 threes in a row, it was funny to watch it happen, but, like, that's not who Fox is going to be in the playoffs, I don't think. So I feel like the Spurs are going to be, like, they're going to win this series. I think Portland could pick up maybe 2 games.
I think so too. I think Portland has enough size, and they have Drew Holiday there, so they have like the championship DNA. I know you have Harrison Barnes, but he's so kind of far removed from that. And D Fox again just has the one playoff series. But for these guys, it's going to be the Spurs. It feels like slightly less experience versus a team like the Blazers. I mean, Jeremy Grant's seen a ton of playoff series too, so it's like you feel like maybe Advia snaps and keeps them in the series. So I would say the Spurs in 6, but I do think the Spurs come away with this one. I do agree that I think Playoff Fox is going to make an appearance in this one. So let's do Spurs in 6. All right, then we go to the East. We got the Pistons. What a run by the Pistons this year, man! Like what a story for them. That's awesome that they hit the 1 seed. But I do think this was a weird year in the East. But do we think that the Hornets have to play the winner? It looks like of this of the Sixers and Magic, which was another crazy game that we just saw. So do we think that any one of these teams will beat the Pistons in a 7-game series?
I don't. I think any of them can make it a interesting series by picking up a couple games, but I think, the Pistons are a pretty complete team, playing some really good team basketball. And in Cade's, he's coming back from an injury, right?
It was a collapsed lung, but he's back.
He's back.
Yeah. So, he's back.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten some time off, and, potentially feeling good going into the series. So I feel like the Pistons are going to roll through the series pretty easy.
Yeah, I would say probably 5.
5.
That'd be the safe bet, because this will be a good spot for them too, with a little bit of inexperience. So this will be fun for them. And then we got the Cavs and the Raptors. This is gonna be a good series. It sucks because I'm confident in the Cavs, but Toronto can make this a series. They got the size to bother Cleveland, and you got Barnes, Ingram, and then you got to go up against Mitchell. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you got Harden now, and Harden, his playoff record, I mean, is an interesting one. He's due for one insane game.
Yeah.
And so is Donovan. But Donovan's a playoff master. He's so good in the playoffs.
They've also got Keon Ellis, man.
I can't wait, bro. I'm excited to see Keon.
And Dennis Schroeder.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I'm more excited for Keon. He's going to make more of an impact, but...
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this is going to be a close series. I really don't. I think that and we can determine how we want this to go.
Mhm.
I personally think it's Cleveland in 5.
I like
And
that.
that's audacious, call it what you want, but like there's a lot of experience on the Cavs side. Even
It's true.
with Harden, yeah, his playoff like record doesn't look the greatest, but he has a ton of experience. And against
Yeah,
a young Raptor team like that, I think that's gonna show.
it's true. I mean, I do think that, yeah, Cleveland just has more experience. Even if they're then losing earlier than expected, they have at least gotten to the second round.
Yeah.
They have the guys, and I do believe in Donovan Mitchell and James Harden more than like Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes. But I do think their size is going to make things interesting and make it annoying. And this is going to be a fun series too. The Knicks and the Hawks. The Hawks have been red hot.
Yeah.
Since the Jonathan Kuminga traded. That could have been us. We could have got Jonathan Kuminga, and I wonder what that would have looked like. Huh?
We'd have been the play-in.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So now we got the Knicks, Mike Brown, back in the playoffs, leading his team. Do we think that there might be an upset here, or do we trust the Knicks? What do we think?
I'll be honest with you. I would be nervous to see an upset if I was the Knicks. Like,
Yeah,
if there's a Knicks, if the Knicks lose this series, I'm gonna put it this way: you're gonna see some heads roll. Like,
Yeah.
that they won't blow it up, but they're gonna change a lot. I'd be worried about losing this series.
I kind of like an upset here.
Do you?
I'm not. I feel like the ghost of Trae Young is haunting the Knicks a little bit. I don't think this is a matchup they want because of the
history between the two
and the style of play that the Hawks have. Yeah, the Knicks have good size on the wings, but so do the Hawks. That's all they have is size. And Nikhil Alexander-Walker's been having a career year.
Mhm.
Like he's blossomed into this like insane point guard. And I do think that defensively they're going to be able to keep up. I think that the Knicks are going to be asked to put up a ton of points, and I think they have what it takes to slow down Cat. Jalen is another story. He's going to get to the line. He's going to make it annoying. He's built for playoff basketball. But I don't know. I kind of like the Hawks here. I could be wrong. The Knicks might just use their experience and freaking blow them out in like 5 games, but I don't know. I feel like if there was an upset on the East side, I think it'd be here.
I agree with you on that. Like, if there's an upset, this is probably it. I don't think this is an upset. And the reason I say it is like there's a lot of experience. This is a very similar Knicks team to that of last year that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So they have that experience. They've got a really good coach in Mike Brown now. Yeah, they've wavered here and there throughout the season, but altogether, like, they have put together a really strong season. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't feel like an upset in this case would be tragic for the Knicks.
Right.
So I think it can be 6 or 7 games. And I'll give you that.
Do we think it goes 7? I guess that'd be. I feel like if the Knicks, I feel like it's going to be like. I think it'll be 2-2. That's the question.
I think it's 5-6. I think it's 5 or 6 games.
Then I'll do 6. Yeah, I feel like 6 will be the safer pick. I think the Hawks are going to give them a run for their money. So
every game will be close.
Right.
I feel that.
So now we have this option with the Celtics and the Sixers and the Magic. If depending on the results of tonight, they'll play the winner. Do we think
Celtics?
Yeah, Celtics. I think 5.
Yeah.
We got JT back and healthy, so they're besides their center play, they're really in a good place. Sure. I mean, outside of Keita, so they got Nimi, but crazy for he's a champion.
There's a lot of former Kings.
World champion Nimi Keita. We can't sleep on that. That's so crazy to me, bro.
I liked him, man.
I know, me too.
I miss Keita.
He fits all. You know what? Off the thing for Kings fan, he fits. Like if Perry was here, I think he would have. He's like kind of reminds me of like what Cardwell. I mean, Cardwell has more energy than him, but like the tools, the athleticism, the rawness of it, and I mean, he's developed into a really nice player.
He fits the pillars, baby.
Yeah. So it's a shame, but shout out to Nimi, world champion Nimi. It's annoying, but still. Now we got the Thunder Rockets. I think it's the Thunder.
I think it's the Thunder.
It'll be a fun series though if it gets to round 2, because like you'll get KD.
6 games.
Yeah.
You think the Rockets get 2 in there?
That's
2 feels right.
I guess it depends on the Lakers series too, because if we're wrong and the Lakers series goes to like if they finish it in 5, I feel more confident in it. But if the Lakers take them to like 6 or 7 and the Thunder just roll in round 1,
then they have all this rest.
Yeah, I'm like. Then I kind of think the Thunder win in 5 because the Thunder are the champs. Like
let's go Thunder 5.
They've done this.
That feels right.
I think Houston's gonna give them a fight. The games are gonna be good, but I do think OKC is gonna win it here.
Yeah.
And then this is a fun matchup here: Nuggets Spurs. I mean, if there's a guy who's kind of, if capable of stepping up with Wemby and matching him because he's so physical and immovable, it's Jokic.
These two have had some battles.
Exactly. And this is going to be an insane matchup if we get it. Me personally, I'm picking the Nuggets.
Really?
I think the Nuggets, I think the Nuggets are made, their experience. Wemby's going to be having to go up against Jokic, who has all these tricks in his game. And this is a playoff series. I think the playoffs are going to teach us a lot about Wemby because this will be his first experience on having to go up against the same team 4 or 5 times with extra tape. You hear players talk about it all the time, how it is a different experience, how you can't fool guys as easily because you're running the same plays. It's hard. So I do think the Nuggets with their experience have what it takes to cause problems for the Spurs. But De'Aaron Fox does like to run Jokic off the court sometimes. So you do have that. If Fox gets to round 2 and he plays insane in game 1, he might be the difference maker that mitigates this whole thing. Him and playoff Jamal, have a whole little battle. But I think I would bank on the Nuggets. But if you want, for the sake of picking on the pod here, if we want to pick the Spurs, we can.
So all season long, I don't know if I've ever said it on the pod, but I've been saying it all season long.
That's true.
I have the Spurs as my champions. And I've stuck to that. I felt like the Spurs have put together a really good roster. It's a roster that can go deep in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They have some experienced veterans on that team. And the tough part for me to swallow is the fact that Fox didn't hit one of those threes. Because that road looks a lot easier than if you have to go through the Nuggets and then go through OKC.
Which is what they're going to have to do if they win here. So
this is, I'm thinking this is a 6 or 7 game series.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be close games. You're going to see back and forths. You're going to see runs. But I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I agree with you. The Nuggets feel right here. They're the hottest team going into the playoffs. They have that experience. If there's, like you said, anybody that can step up against Wemby and just be a fill it all, do it all type player, it's Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave it for you.
I do think when we were talking about in this exercise in particular, we did have the Nuggets going 7, and I do think that matters. But the Nuggets are the home team, but they wouldn't be the home team in this scenario either. I think this goes to 7. That's how I feel. I think it'll be Spurs in 7. I think the Nuggets, it's just going to be back and forth. Maybe it looks like the Nuggets start to pull away, but maybe the Spurs just take care of it. I'm down for riding them for one more series, and we'll see if we have them beating OKC.
It could be the dethroning matchup.
Yes, exactly. So then we got the Pistons and Cavs.
I like this.
This is a fun matchup.
This is a good one.
So who do we think here? I mean, do we think that this would be the matchup where the Cavs get over with their experience, or do we think that the Pistons keep this run going until they run into a team with more experience like the Celtics or the Knicks, one of those guys?
If this was pre-trade deadline, this is an easy choice for me. It's the Pistons. But post-trade deadline, the Cavs have looked good, and they made the right moves. Bringing in Keon Ellis was a really good move for them. They're getting some really good production off the bench all around. Both of these teams are deep. Their starters are deep. Their benches are deep. They're really well coached. This is a tough series. This is a long series in my opinion.
I'd be okay picking Cleveland. I think Cleveland might be the one here. I think they can beat Detroit.
Let me ask you this: does it feel fluky that the Pistons are number 1? Like in any other year, with the East being kind of the way it is this year, it's a little weird. It's kind of like the West.
If everyone was fully healthy and stuff.
If everyone's fully healthy, do you feel like the Pistons would still be the number 1 seed? Because for me, it's no.
No, but I do think they have what it takes to be if all teams were healthy, injuries were off, they would probably be the 4th best team.
Right.
I think they're that good.
And
I think they can hang. I think they can hang with any one of these teams.
Absolutely, I do too.
But I kind of want to see it first.
Exactly.
With them.
I feel confident in Cleveland.
Yeah.
In this case, but I think it's a long series. We could go 7.
Bet. I think we'll run with that. And then we got Knicks Celtics. Wasn't this a rematch?
Yeah.
This is a series that's happened.
I like the Celtics here.
I do too. Not really much to talk about here, but I think that I kind of just trust the Celtics over the Knicks. I think it'll be a good series, but I think Celtics.
The Knicks have had some fluky losses, and Yeah.
Now, convince me.
I can't.
Convince me to not take the Thunder in this series. Well, the argument we have is regular season, right? So the Spurs have shown in this version of the regular season, but you're getting the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. It's playoff refs. It's playoff calls.
Yep.
It's SGA. It's Lou Dort beating people up and getting away with it. It's Jalen Williams and Chet. Do we think that the Spurs get enough calls? Do we think that they're able to play consistently against this team in a 7-game series where the Thunder are going to be forced? You know, the Thunder will have their experience there. And I mean, both teams are just as deep.
They really did. The Spurs really did have their number throughout the regular season. Like, yeah, the Thunder got over their bugaboo at the very end, in the last matchup between the two. Mm-hmm. But like,
that felt like a while ago too.
It was, yeah. It was all pretty early in the season. This is tough. Yeah. I don't know the best way to convince you other than just like, for me, I've had them as my winner for the whole season. But it does, like, when you factor in the Spurs having just played 2 at this point, if this is how it shakes down, 2 long series, and you got the Thunder who really haven't struggled with a long series to that point. Mm-hmm. You know, it could catch up with the Spurs and they could be run into the ground by, by the Thunder just running all over the place and being...
Because they're not used to it.
Yeah. And it matters about the calls too. Like, is Shea going to continue to get the kind of calls? We saw that slow down.
It's true.
We saw it slow down towards the end of the playoffs last year.
That's true, and I think they'll want to give them the 2 MVP matchups. They're going to want them to pop off.
And they might let some stuff go, whereas they wouldn't in the regular season.
Okay.
I'll leave it for you. If it was my bracket, I wouldn't think much about it. I would take Spurs in 7.
7, okay.
7. I think it's going to be a really good
classic series. Do we think Cleveland gets over? I could see it.
I
can see it only because they could expose Vucevic. And he is, like, when you have a weak link like that, like, yes, the Celtics have championship pedigree and the style of play, they can kind of mitigate that. Mm-hmm. They're always going to play fast, chuck up a lot of threes. They have Jalen and Jason, like, I get that. But I also think that, like, if Cleveland gets to this point, you know, do we trust Harden not to sell?
Right.
Do we trust, you know, this is assuming Donovan's made it this far health-wise too. That would mean that they're doing all the same things almost because these teams play similarly. Do we think Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley make the difference in the series? Like, are they able to help in a way that offsets what the rest of the Celtics can do?
Yeah, I think that would be a tough ask of this team right now. You know, the Cavaliers are building something really good there. But against the Celtics team who's found a way to kind of put this together down the stretch, especially after getting back JT, just it feels like the Celtics are like the pick in the East right now.
That's fair. This is a team that you can trust. I feel that. So then, do we think it's a classic that goes to 7, or do we think it's like a 6-game series? Because it definitely goes deep.
I feel like 6 games is about right.
Okay. And we got the Spurs Celtics final would be really cool.
That would be.
I can see how the Spurs would be the champions in this scenario, just because of the sheer. I think the Spurs.
Who's going to stop Wemby?
Right. Who are they going to throw at him? Like Jalen and JT are not going to like risk fouling him all the time.
You'd have to outscore them.
Yeah. And then, I mean, with the way they like to shoot, they probably can, but the Spurs can also defend. They have all these guards that they can do the same thing for.
Yeah.
So that's what, you know, I think the Spurs, I see you here. Okay.
I think I will say this is the only scenario that I see the Spurs winning. Like,
is if they match
seriously up? Winning the chip is if they match up against a team like the Celtics who struggles with the height.
What if they got a team like the Pistons?
That would be an interesting one.
Well, like if they got, you know, because of Duren, he's physically able to.
That could be a really interesting series.
So I see what you're saying. Because even with the Cavs, you have size with Mobley and Allen. So.
I'd still end up picking the Spurs, I think, but I feel like it would go deeper. I genuinely feel like this is a 5 or 6 game series.
I could see that. Let's do 6. Spurs. Tiebreaker. How many total points will be scored in Game 1 of the NBA Finals? Well, this is the NBA. So it's easily over 100 for each team. So
call it 113, 110. We'll call it 223.
Yeah, that sounds like a good score. Bang. Okay. Submit. All right.
You good with it?
Yeah,
I'm good with it.
Cool. Now we're
And
saying,
hey, I will say, if this is how it shakes down, I'd be happy for Fox. Like,
yeah, that would be cool. Damn.
it would be cool for Fox.
He
Like,
is to win a title. He deserves it, honestly.
He
He's
does.
gotten a lot of slander too. So if
Yeah.
he led them to the title, that would be
Yep.
that would be pretty cool, actually. All right, so we got our bracket taken care of. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
I think that was fun. I think that was a good discussion there.
good.
So let's move on here to the main topic because we're gonna stay on basketball here.
Yes.
And we're gonna start with our Sacramento Kings. And now the season's over, finally, right? The playoffs are here, which means we're no longer involved in any games. Although post All-Star break, I will admit, was actually enjoyable, I think. And they had exit interviews. We got to hear from a lot of the guys, kind of their perspective and their outlook of the season. And I thought there was a lot of really good things that were said. But I want to ask you, we're both kind of going to give our grade for how we think the season went. And it could be a grade for any different number of reasons. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. So let's start with our grades for this season now that it's over. What would you give?
It's tough for me. Like, out the gate, I'm like D, like F. It was terrible, right?
Right.
Some really great points were made today in the presser that we saw from Doug and Scott.
Yeah.
And one of the points that's been taken now and really thrown around Sacramento is that these young guys are a year or two ahead of their development.
Right.
And so from that standpoint, like you were already rebuilding going into this year. Or at least you were planning to rebuild. You didn't know when it would, quote unquote, start.
Right.
But you knew the rebuild was happening. To get the kind of production you did out of the young guys, especially post All-Star break, and kind of, get an idea of the guys you want moving forward, that to me is super valuable. And to be able to get a year or two ahead of development for these young guys, especially like Maxime right now, who I think is going to be a really, really good player.
First team all rookie.
Absolutely. If he's not, it's
not surprising.
It's hands, bro. It's hands. I again, like I said, I can start it off by saying F or D, but genuinely from the development standpoint, I would go like D plus.
Okay,
I'm gonna go D plus.
How you were gonna go.
It was a terrible season, right? Like 22 wins is horrendous season.
Yeah.
Anytime you're 55 plus losses, that sucks. That's not fun. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of losing. You didn't see the beam many times at all. And when you did, it was just kind of like okay, cool. Like,
it's too late. Yeah.
And we low key just wanted losses down the stretch to compete for the for the number one pick. But
that's how it went.
Ultimately, like the only thing saving me from saying F or a D is like a flat D or a D minus is like the development that we got from these young guys.
Right, and for me, that's kind of where I always viewed this season going into it. My lens was I wanted to see the young guys. That's why I was against the veteran movement when it happened.
Yeah, we were beefing.
And I would have gave this a higher score. I would have given this a higher grade. I'm going to give it a higher grade than you. I'm going to give it a C because the development part was what was more important to me going into this season because I was like, okay, we could be a playing team if all goes well. But in reality, I mean, I kind of like who we got. And I kind of want to see what we can do. And then we added players. So I was like, so it took longer. I think if we had, I know injuries kind of helped play a role into it, but if we had gotten more Max, I mean, we got Max all year, but if we gotten more Neek and, we had funneled all these guys out, if we had played Keon more and maybe kept him, like those are kind of some of the moves that I'm like, we had so much to figure out. And at least post All-Star break, we had a really nice run of like, these are our guys, nothing's going to change, and they just get to play with each other. And we saw that, like, the development from Doug and them kind of finally adding all those minutes for them, where we're seeing Devin and Neek and Max and, Precious at the time, and then you got Daquan. Dylan was hurt for a little bit towards the end, which was kind of a bummer, but at the very end, got some runs, so that's all that matters. But that was it. The development of these guys made the season watchable, and it was good to see them each individually have moments in this season. Devin Carter had the explosion game. Neek Clifford had multiple really great games. Maxine was a first team all rookie this year. He had plenty of moments, and Dylan Cardwell was like another spark for the city. So it's like you see these guys now. So we talk about these kind of young guys and Daquan Plowden, if we keep them, whatever, if we keep Precious, like all of a sudden we really kind of have our roster set.
Yeah.
When it comes to like what moves do we have to make, I think the big move that's important is that we need to cut down on our finances. And I think that
We're in the second apron.
we're in the second apron. So what that means for those who don't know, like when they added this new version of the taxes, now that we're a second apron team, we're going to get taxed at the highest level. And you really don't see the teams that you see in this luxury, in this level, are championship caliber teams. And
Yeah.
Scott Perry said it himself on the exit interviews that he's like, I only reserve, that kind of status of being a second apron team for a championship team, and we are not that. At least he was open and candid about
That's
it.
good, he should be.
But the problem is how you do that.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with getting rid of guys like DeMar, Malik, Russ, and making way for these guys that you've invested in that are cost effective, like Devin and Neek, and maybe even Daquan if you get him back on a similar contract, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you run with a first, and then whoever we end up in the first round, our draft pick, who could be we still have a shot for number one, 11%, right? Like we could luck into the number one pick, and all of a sudden, you look at this roster, Zach LaVine in it or not, Domas in it or not, and at least for the beginning portion, you feel like, wow, our depth is actually really solid.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel confident going into next year that it's going to look better because, like you said, these guys are ahead of schedule, right? So all of a sudden you're thinking about a Devin Carter, Neat, Clifford, Maxime, Dylan bench rotation in Daquan Plowden, and all of a sudden you're like, it's a good bench five. They've proven that they've been a starting five who's played minutes together. So it's like these guys have experience with each other. They're going to be spending all summer together. So it's just like I feel way more confident next year that even if we keep Zach and Domas as our starters, that our bench is all of a sudden going to be juiced. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that's kind of my take from that.
No, I can see it. My only thing is like, yeah, Russell Westbrook is like one of my favorite players. I've said it many times. I would still love to bring him back.
I can only for a Vetman if he does the same contract as he does,
and that's fair. Yeah, like Vetman would be great. Personally, I'd welcome a little bit more than the Vetman, and a lot of the reason is because like when you look at just how influential he was in the development of these young guys throughout the season, like I'll be honest with you, I don't think Maxime has we don't see the kinds of leaps and bounds that he took throughout the season without playing alongside a point guard like Russ.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of Russ, if you never signed Russ, you're playing Dennis Schroeder probably all the way through the rest of the season, and he's not developing Max into the kind of center that he is today.
Mm-hmm.
So, like from that standpoint, I look at another season of Russell Westbrook, and I'm like, yeah, like bring him back. Let's get him some run with continued runs with some of the young guys. He's going to get a run with Domantas Sabonis. He's going to get a run with, whoever else is out there. But like, I would welcome it considering the kind of vibes that he, produced throughout the season. Like just recently, a couple days ago, there was a video that his social media team posted of him going around the office, like just handing out cookies.
Yeah.
And like, it's super, it's super, cool and like, cutesy and stuff. But like the reality is this season, 60 losses, 22 wins, tons of injuries. There could have been any reason and every reason for a guy like DeMar DeRozan or a guy like Zach LaVine or Domantas Sabonis to have a bad attitude towards this season. But I think a lot of the reason why this season in general you saw the good vibes continue throughout is because of Russell Westbrook.
I think my thing with Russ is he was shown he had good play with us, and I agree that like the development was really important. But I also think that they got plenty of time. Like, yeah, it would be helpful, but I'm afraid of what if we end up with the point guard in the draft?
That's another.
So like if we end up with Darius Acuff, for example, at like 5, or even Darren Peterson, like, do we want those touches going to Russ when the guy who we're bringing in is supposed to be the future, and we're asking him to learn more? Because like I would think that if we have Darren Peterson, you could imagine a world where it's Darren Peterson and Zach LaVine as their starting duo.
Okay, but all right.
But then if it's Darius Acuff too, then that's a different story.
True. But what if it is Darren or Darius and he gets hands-on 82 game experience from a legend like Russell Westbrook.
I would just need Russ to be okay with
a backseat role.
Yeah, like what he's taken with other teams.
Yeah.
Like we believe in him, but I don't want him jacking up 18 shots a game as a starter. And that's what he's capable of doing sometimes, and it can cost us games. Maybe a lot of it this year was because of how everything ended up, and you know, a little bit lack of motivation. It was just him and DeMar as the vets, so like he got more leeway. And maybe with now that he's established this kind of feel for his new teammates, that maybe next year he's just a passing demon like he always is, and he just does the dirty work and doesn't put up all the points. Like there'll be plenty of games where I can see him doing that, but I'd rather just say, I mean, again, I would move on from a guy like Malik, even though he's the heartbeat, just because like financially he's kind of one of the few guys you can get, you can move, and we need to get under. Like there's going to be some sacrifices that come with rebuilding and making a younger roster, and I like it's like some of those hard decisions need to be made. As much as I love Malik, but we don't need another 6-foot guard. So if we're really going to run next year, I'd be okay with bringing back Russ if we move Malik and draft a point guard. Then I'd be cool with that kind of 3-man rotation of Carter, our rook, and Russ. That would be fine. But like again, that's kind of where because I believe in Devin, and Devin's given us moments, and like in the last couple games, he really improved as a passer because he started understanding the flow of an offense for once, because he's finally getting minutes. And I just think that I think that he has a chance to do what Malik did, because he's that kind of a game changer. Mm-hmm. He has boneheaded moments, but he has the ability to flip a game with his ability.
He also has boneheaded moments because he's only played under like 800 minutes in the NBA.
Yeah. So I just feel like I feel good about our young guys, to the point where maybe they don't. It would always be great to have vets. That's the point of having one or two vets on the team, but we don't need more than what we have. And if we're somehow stuck with DeRozan, if we don't buy him out somehow, because he's still technically under contract, if we don't buy him out or adjust him or trade him, and we're rolling in with the same freaking group of guys, I would at least want to. If we're gonna have Levine, Domas, and DeMar, I want the young guys starting alongside them. I'm tired of the vets. We need more young guys to push this future forward, and we're already gonna have to include Keegan and DeAndre. So it's like, it's gonna be interesting. It really is gonna be like the guard heavy position. That's why I'm like the Kings. I also think. Sorry, I'm rambling here. I also think like that's why the Kings were okay with not tanking, with winning games, because they kind of wanted to fall in this point guard range, because that's the position they need the most right now.
Even Doug Christie mentioned it.
Right, because Max has blossomed, because Dylan's blossomed. We could potentially keep Precious. We have Keegan and DeAndre. Like, we have kind of that front court position filled a little bit.
Yeah.
We could add a Caleb Wilson. That'd be great if we lucked into that, or an AJ if we lucked into that pick. But I think they'd be more content taking a guard, just because that fills a position of need. You can get him cost effective, and he got a developmental piece. So it's like, we anti-tanked. We did what we were supposed to do. We just lost normally because we were okay with falling into the guard range, unlike these other teams who are desperate for one of those top guys.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, I'll put it this way. There's going to be a ton of work for Scott Perry to do this offseason. If he wants whatever direction he wants to take this thing, there's going to be a lot of dominoes that need to fall. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a lot of agreements on the table for some of these guys where it's like, Zach LaVine, you might have to have like a heart-to-heart with him and be like, what kind of a direction do you want the rest of your career to go?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to take $49 million and continue losing? Because we're in the middle of a rebuild, bro. Or do you want to, we can buy you out and stretch this out,
mm-hmm.
and you can go to, a playoff team and make them miss the playoffs or play for the play-in. Yeah. So, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it, like, he has a ton of work, Scott Perry does, to do this offseason, and it starts immediately. I think that, like, they kind of asked him during the presser, like, well, what kind of the focus is for you right now for Scott Perry?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I'm focused on the draft. Like, that's the thing coming up here. This is the, what they have eyes on. They've mentioned, being interested in guys like, Darius Acuff, and that's a point guard. Like, you get Darius on your team, that's a nice pairing age-wise to go with the rest of the roster outside of the vets, and it's a nice pairing to go along with, a center like Max Marinelli.
Yeah.
So I think that there's some promising angles to look at this offseason with, but dude, he has a lot to do.
Yeah, a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see. So when we talk about the Kings, let's put a bow on the season, right? It's been a rough one. We got through it. Took forever. Somehow it felt like the longest NBA season ever. But
And yet it doesn't feel any different than any other season.
Yeah, that too.
Right?
Yeah, it's weird.
That's all.
But this season had some good moments, had some bad moments.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just give off our favorite moment from the season. I'll start actually. I think it's going to be, for me personally, it's going to be the Devin Carter game where he didn't play at all until the end of the third, and then he played all the way through the rest of the game and popped off, saved the Kings. They came back. He had a 23-point outburst in the fourth quarter in front of 50 Cent, and Maxime Reynaud hit a game-winning shot, or a shot to extend the lead, put it out of reach. And that was hype because the arena was hyped. It was at home. It was a good time. And I'm glad that he had that moment because he needs more of those because I believe in him. He's my guy. So that would be my moment of the season.
So I had one planned out, and then you mentioned pre-recording a moment that just definitely took the cherry on top for me for this season, and that was the Dylan Cardwell game.
Yeah.
And that was the one against the New Orleans Pelicans, specifically when he blocked Zion at the end of the game.
Yeah.
He made some incredible plays down the stretch of that game, and his energy, like, you felt his energy throughout the season, right? Mm-hmm. But that was peak Dylan Cardwell energy. And for me, like, it solidified why I was so excited when we brought him in at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
like,
that was their guy.
I really liked that when we picked him up. Like, I was like, man, Dylan Cardwell, he is going to be one of those fan favorites because of the kind of energy and the passion that he plays with. And he is just, like, embraced every moment of being in the NBA.
I know, dude. He's so wholesome.
It's so wholesome. And to me, that's, like, it's really special. Like, in all how shitty this season was, to have that golden outlook and to have that golden of a player, like, it really was my favorite moment and just kind of thing to keep up on this whole season.
Yeah, Dylan Cardwell was awesome. Another part of that game that was special too was it was like a Maxime moment too, because he had a really good game against Derek Queen, and he's like, well, only one center averaged 20 and 10 in college last year, and I liked. That's when
talk your talk.
Yeah, we're starting to see the confidence of Max, and I think when we talk about like kind of the MVP of the season, I think if we look at just the second half, because that's really when we got to see these guys go. I think I would dub it Max, and Neek also played incredibly well. But Max being the 42nd overall pick, when you can see it right now, he has like top 10 lottery capability. Yep. So what a hit by Perry. I think that's a win, the biggest win of the season.
Well, even Doug Christie said, like, we picked a guy at 42, and if you did a redraft right now, he would be top 5.
Yeah.
And he nailed it on the head. And you make an interesting point too, like, going back to the grade portion of the season, right? Mm-hmm. There's kind of two grades, because there's the pre-All-Star break and then there's the post-All-Star break. And the vibes are polar opposite of each other, right? Like, pre-All-Star break, if I can do this now, I'm going to say, like, pre-All-Star break, F. I hated watching Kings games. Like, the vibes they weren't vibing. It wasn't fun. We were just watching vets throw bricks up after bricks, right? And we weren't seeing the young guys get that much run. And then post All-Star break, you saw the young guys get run. You saw them get dominated. You saw them win games. You saw them go through the ebbs and flows of being a young guy in the NBA and being a young roster. And you even saw growth from Doug Christie at that point at post All-Star break. So, like, F pre All-Star break, and I would genuinely give it like a C+ or a B-. I would flirt with a B- post All-Star break, just from a vibes perspective.
I do that too. Yeah, and I gotta, Doug I think he did an admirable job given everything. He announced he will be back next year, which is huge. We did talk about that.
He should be.
And also I didn't think what kind of options were out there. I think old school Kings, if they had saw that, the Doc Rivers report, I think he would have been the first coach that they jumped on if it was like the old regime. They'd be like, oh, let's get the toxic coach in here. But I'm happy for Doug. I think he needs a real chance to show what he can do. And I mean, I think the development of the young guys is a testament to what did he do this season? If you asked, what did he do? You guys won 22 games. That's what he did. He developed the guys. He gave them confidence. He gave them grace, as Dylan Cardwell said. And I think that's huge for the development of these guys going into next year when all of their roles are going to be completely different again.
Yep.
And I think that they can trust Doug, and I think that's huge.
And he had a bottom 5 roster and team and never lost a locker room.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to lose a locker room even when you're middle of the pack.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he did an admirable job and he deserves to have a second shot. I hope that it's not a second shot and he only gets 10 games next season.
Yeah.
Like even if we open 2-8 and they fire him, I hope it's not
Right.
one of those situations. And I don't think it will be. I think they're going to give him a legit shot.
Yeah, I think so too. They're gonna let it ride, see what happens, and he'll have a new toy to play with as a coach when we draft our next guy. So
AJ.
so we're gonna do the sim here. Make sure everything's set. Yep, perfect. So the Kings are in 5th, 11% odds for the number 1 pick, but now we can fall all the way back to what, 8th?
8th.
8th is where we can go, which is, knowing Kings fans, we already are preparing for our 8th overall pick, and let's do this sim and see where we go. The Jazz won. This is the prediction. We fell to 6th.
Wow.
So that's going to be tough. So it looks like, Utah, Dallas somehow.
Dallas goes up 6 spots. What are they?
This is a lot. They did last year. They were 13th and got to 1. This is
crazy. 2 years in a row.
Oh yeah, so imagine they get Cooper Flag and Darren Peterson, right? Like that'd be insane. So we get the 6th. I think in this scenario we probably end up with our pick of the guards. I don't think it's Darius though, so I think it's Keaton Wagler, Kingston Flemings again, Michael Brown, LeBaron Fillin. If we wanted to go crazy, we could go with a guy no one's talking about. If we want to do like a Yaxel, if we believed in him and wanted just instant old age veteran, but I don't think that's what.
Who would you go here?
I'd probably still do Kingston. I feel confident in Kingston at 6, but yeah, I'd be kind of pissed if we did Keaton. Not that I don't like Keaton, I just don't think he fits.
Who would you say is the best facilitator?
Keaton.
At that point.
And it would be Keaton.
That to me is, I think, what would be most important. Like, you're not, at that point, you're not looking for a dominant player, a scoring option. Yeah. You're looking for a guy who can facilitate the rock, somebody who can run the point guard position. Yeah. And he really can do all of it at a pretty high level. So
he gives me, and you know what, where I don't believe in him is that he gives me Tyrese Halliburton vibes, and then I say that, and then that gives me more confidence because it's Tyrese Halliburton. You know what I mean? So it's like I said it like in the tournament, he's like Tyrese Halliburton light. He got called the Steph Curry's of Kyle Anderson's at one point in the during the season. Wow. So like just with his style of play. But that doesn't mean he won't be good, and he does have a really good feel for the game. So it would be something that if you paired him with a Maxine or Dylan, and he came from that European style system, so he makes the right plays. So I wouldn't be mad with the Keaton Wagler if they decided to go him over Kingston or the other guys. So no, I think that's great. So let's get this off the screen because it was disgusting that we lost that bad and we got 7th or whatever, the 6th pick there. So we're off. We're done with basketball here. I think that was good. Made our playoff picks. We put a final bow on the Sacramento Kings season. We're going to keep up with all the Kings news and what happens with some of the moves they end up making first, whether it's finances, who they're talking about for the draft, and we got to wait for the draft lottery. That'll be a fun and nerve-wracking time, as you can tell with now the variants that we did for ourselves. So we're excited, but we're going to pivot on here to some football, and we'll be right back to do so. All right, we are back on the Behind the Back podcast. Again, thank you guys for all of you guys who are joining, or for those who are listening for the first time. It's been a couple weeks since we've been in the lab, so it's been good to get a lot of stuff off of our chest. So we are in the best time of year in the NFL. The NFL draft is right around the corner. It is next week, and we will have a mock draft. We only do one mock draft here on the Behind the Back podcast, and we do it the day before. So we will have our mock draft ready to go. But it is draft season, and the Eagles and the Niners are in what really feels like a similar position. Not only like where we're picking, 23, 27, we're right there. And we're going to talk about it here. We're going to talk about 6 prospects here. And not like these are our top 6 prospects, but we kind of scaled the NFL landscape, listened. We probably did our own mock drafts on our own, looked at other mock drafts and heard around the reporter beats, right? Like who are the players that have been kind of named on our teams or that we're interested in and for what reason? But we did a little exercise where we did 3 guys that we would trade up for, and then 3 guys if we stayed at our spots in the first round who we think our teams are going to be taking. So we'll start this exercise with the Eagles. And we'll do, since they have the 23rd, and not the team of the pod, I know, not this year, but they do get the first pick because the Niners decided to overachieve on a rebuilding year and waste a chance in getting a good pick in
It's a
this draft.
retooling year, not a rebuilding year.
But the Eagles, thanks to the Niners, got put in this 23rd slot. So for when we talk about the trade up candidates, because we're in this spot and because, AJ Brown exists, there is a possibility that a trade could happen on draft night. Howie does love to move up in the draft. The thing he loves to do if he believes he can get a top end talent. And in my opinion, when we talk about three of the guys that I think Howie would trade up for, and I don't think he would trade up. These are guys like if we were trading up, we're trading up to like 17, 18, like this range. Not we're going to trade up into the top 10 for this guy. Right. So out of the three guys that I have here, it'll be like these guys are going to they're going to fall down further than people expect, and how we can't miss this opportunity, right? So first guy I want, and we'll just rapid fire real quick just so we get him off and we can kind of talk about it. My first guy is Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. If they ended up with him, that would be incredible. My second is, and this is the most unlikely of the bunch, is safety Caleb Downs from Ohio State. Just the best safety in the class, and his injury history, I don't know. Maybe somebody doesn't want a safety. Maybe everyone goes O-line or D-line, and something happens where he falls into the teens. And I feel like a player like that, Howie would have no choice but to trade up for. Like I would. So that's just me personally, right? So then the last guy I have is Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher from Auburn, as a guy to trade up for. He's a weird one because he could go. He has a wide variance, so he could be right at our spots, at either one of our spots. But he could also go as early as like 11 or 12. So if he's sitting there at 17, 18, and a lot of the other options for some of the positions we're talking about are off the board, I would not be upset if you traded up for him. So those would be my three guys that I would trade up for. What about you?
So I'll start it off by saying Keldrick Falk is one of my guys as well.
Yeah.
And I will say too, like the trade up scenario is very similar for me. Like I'm not picturing trading up to number 3 or anything like that. I'm picturing trading up into the teens. And yeah, Keldrick Falk, he has a wide range at which he can fall. It really does depend on draft day and how the board lies. But he's one of them. My next one is a wide receiver. Why? Because the 49ers are actually bringing in wide receivers for 30 visits and have shown strong interest in first-round wide receivers. And my guy would be Denzel Boston.
Hey.
My last guy is going to be Caden Proctor, offensive tackle out of Alabama. And look, I mean, let's be real, like 49ers need offensive line. They've needed offensive line. The numbers from which the 49ers, put up in this last year don't reflect how poor this offensive line actually is, because Kyle Shanahan is a scheme god, and Brock Purdy and Mac Jones are the style of quarterbacks who can make plays when stuff breaks down.
Yeah.
So I think it hides a lot of the weaknesses that this offensive line has had, which is why I still believe the 49ers should be going offensive line in the first round. But Marcos, I'll throw it back over to you. Started off with your first guy. It was Kenyon Sadiq, right?
Yeah, so Kenyon Sadiq, I think he's just like a special talent. And I think for either one of our, like, he's been mocked to the Niners too. I think for either one of our teams, I think you and I have kind of talked about this. We've kind of been kind of on this train for the past few years now, like kind of not really realizing it. Our teams are kind of the same, like in a very they've been riding a similar boat.
Yep.
Controversy around our quarterbacks, people hating on our coaches, having some mixed, playoff success, right? But always being a team that's super good. And
you guys have a power plant?
Oh yeah, no, we don't have that. Right, we don't have the power plant causing massive injuries. I think that's been the biggest difference for sure. Has been injuries between the two teams. But I think when we talk about this draft, I think if we were to list off our top 3 positions of need right now, I think I think all 3 of them are the same.
Yep.
They might be in slightly different orders, but I think they're the same. And for the Eagles, it's offensive tackle, wide receiver, and edge. And those are the positions. When I say positions of need, I guess I would say when it comes to the wide receivers, the AJ Brown trade looms, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is going to be a post June 1st type of move if it happens. But if you get a guy like Kenyon Sadiq in the building, that's just a playmaker. You don't need a wide receiver to take place for AJ Brown. You want those targets to go somewhere. Put in a game breaker like Kenyon Sadiq. You already have Dallas Goedert back. That doesn't mean that they have 4 tight ends in the room right now, but that doesn't mean they have to keep any of those guys. If they get Kenyon Sadiq on the board, you take him. So especially in the Sean Mannion offense, you're going to run 2 tight end sets. He'll see the field, and I think he'd be a great target for Jalen. So that's the idea of if he's there, and you kind of know this AJ trade's coming. Take a swing for a guy like Kenyon Sadiq.
Well, and Goddard's missed time, the last few years. So yeah, just from a security standpoint, it makes sense. No, Kenyon Sadiq is a hell of a player, and he's the kind of guy I would love to see the 49ers trade up and go get. But for me, it's a little less realistic because I think that it's likely another team opts to just stay and take him. I also think it's likely that another team like the Eagles, who are draft day geniuses, will trade up, get the deal right, get the spot right, and take him where he needs to be.
Right.
So, it's one of those factors. It's I would love the 49ers to go and get Kenny Sadiq because all I'm picturing is 2 tight end sets with George Kittle and Kenny Sadiq. And I'm like, dude, Shanny would be eating that up all day.
Yeah.
But he's a hell of a player, and he's somebody that you can slot in instantly, and he's an immediate playmaker, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. So when we look at Caleb Downs, the reason I just mentioned him because he's just one of my favorite players. I would have had Sonny Styles on here and stuff, but he's just he's my favorite overall in the draft, I have to say. Just putting it out there now. Don't land in the NFC East, please, Sonny. That's all I care about. But Caleb Downs is we need a safety.
Yep.
But it's going to be a question of do we want to invest in a safety? And Howie come out and said they recently had interviews with him where he's if the best player available is on the board, we're versus a position that we might think, oh, is this more important? But this player is here. We're probably going to look towards taking the best player available. So if that meant someone fell like a Caleb Downs, I'd be cool with that too. But he had injury concerns, and that's the only reason he's even up here. But he's a clear top-tier defensive player. And that's the only reason I would trade up for him. But and Keldrick Falk, same thing. It's he's young. He's actually probably the truest edge rusher of the whole draft. You have David Bailey, Arvell Reese. There's been talks about their, what they actually can do, and Keldrick Falk being one of the youngest players in this draft, you just have this cool ceiling with him. And we also missed out on Jalen Phillips and keeping him here.
Yep.
We need edge. That's and trading up for a guy that fills a need might not be the perfect scenario because of the AJ Brown trade looming potentially. Maybe you want to invest in cheaper offensive players, but if a guy like that's available, it's a hard pass. You have the defense capable of winning now, so might as well go for it.
Yeah, big time. Keldrick Falk for me, for the 49ers, if you think back to last year, they took Michael Williams in the first round. And I was hyped about that because I was one of my guys.
Yeah, I was.
And one of the things that I talked about in his scouting report that is so far panned out to be very true is that he's an immediate run-stopping presence, but he needs to develop that pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
And, he had 1 sack on his 9 games played last year, but he saw the most double teams up through those nine games than any other edge in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So, his presence is being felt. It's just a matter of developing that pass rush. And when I look at a guy like Keldrick Falk, he is an immediate help on that pass rush.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of thinking of a 3-package deal here where it's you've got Bosa on the far side, barring, he's coming back from injury and he's healthy. And then you got, 3 to 4 downs to play between Michael Williams in the run game and Falk on the pass game.
Yeah.
And I'm that is a 3-headed monster that can wreak some havoc on when you also consider the interior defensive line that the 49ers are starting to build.
Yeah.
So I think for me, he would be probably my number 2 guy that I would trade up and go get.
Yeah.
I think in order it would be Caden Proctor, then it would be Keldrick Falk, and then Denzel Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is going to Caden Proctor, he's a top target for the 49ers to trade up for because of his versatility. He could initially play left guard before transitioning to left tackle.
Yep.
He's got a massive frame. He's 6'7", 352 pounds with a high-end physical traits. It's rare control that with the kind of size that he has.
Yeah.
And he's part of the 30 visits, so the 49ers have already met with him. And on top of that, you got to factor in the Trent Williams things. Yeah, he might not be retiring this season, but he's absolutely going to miss games. Like, it's a gimme. I don't think he's played a single full season with the 49ers, and it's been a number of years since he has played, a full season. And most recently, he's missed games. So you you can expect that he's going to miss some of these games, and you're going to need left tackle depth. If you can put Proctor at left guard and have him playing alongside Trent, and then in practices and things like that, put him behind Trent and have him just kind of take some of the ropes and learn some of the ropes from a future Hall of Famer like that, you can have an immediate starting guard, and then you can have a future replacement at left tackle.
Yeah.
And that to me is like super valuable. Like, that's why like he's probably my number one. And as far as Denzel Boston is concerned, like I like everything that Denzel Boston does, but we don't necessarily need a wide receiver in the first round. I think I would like to take a wide receiver in the first round. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I want an offensive tackle or an edge before I do a wide receiver. But with Denzel Boston, like high upside yak producer, he's a big body target at 6'4", 212. He's got 32-inch arms, huge hands, really good early burst on his routes, and he's an explosive player. He does lack like a second gear. So depth, going down the field deep, like he's probably going to get caught up to by safeties or cornerbacks. But he's the kind of player that, with the kind of system that Shanahan runs, would slot in really well.
Yeah.
And learning behind a guy like Mike Evans and being alongside, Christian Kirk, I think would only benefit him even further. So, and obviously Juwan Jennings being out the door, you're going to need a wide receiver. I think they're going to take a wide receiver. I don't know if it's in the first round, but Denzel Boston would be a guy that I'd welcome in the 49ers facility.
Yeah, I think, as this process moves on, guys like Boston and them, I think they might be the kind of guy who falls back to maybe where you
I can
end up
see it.
lucking into him at that spot in 27. But because like the Eagles have interest in Boston as well, and he's been mocked to the Eagles a few times. And I think that it's one of those things that Boston is a natural fit for your ex receiver, right?
Yeah.
And that's when, you could have him work in the system, whether it's your team or my team, like within that system, and learn under some veterans who can point him in the right direction. And I think it would be huge. I think, especially in that Shanahan system, it would be very interesting if you guys got a guy like Boston. And I mean, you have him, Pearsall, and Boston. All you kind of have multiple ways you can attack, and you don't have to have the same dude in every single possession. You can mix things up, and I think it would be an interesting one to get. And I also really like the Caden Proctor pick. I do think that you guys, you do need to, now more than ever, you were kind of pushing off the Trent Williams replacement of it all. And I think Caden has the ability to play in both slots too. So if your right tackle goes down, it's McGlinchey, right? Yeah. So if he goes down, then Proctor can fill in for him too in a need too.
It's a versatility thing.
Yeah, and the Eagles did that with Cam Jurgens. They had him play guard, and I know center's a different position, but they did that with Kelsey. They had him learn next to Kelsey for a year. You're seeing how you're supposed to be doing your role just right next to you, right? So. I think that is underrated to be able to do, and I think if you can get Caden in that kind of spot, he's a mauler, dude, and he would do exactly. He could just mirror Trent Williams. He has all that ability. That is like if he were to hit his ceiling, that really is the kind of potential he has. And I think he's a great starting point because when we talk about the dudes who would fall to 23 that the Eagles would take, he's one of the names on there for me, and I think that Caden would be a good Lane Johnson replacement if there was someone that he was interested in learning beside. And if they really wanted to, they could throw him in the Tyler Steen position if they wanted to do that. But I know people were talking about the Jeff Stoutland of it all. Like Jeff Stoutland's gone, so they're not going to take an offensive lineman because he's been the architect. You hired a guy in Chris Cooper who maybe the Vikings didn't want, but you're bringing him in to replace Stoutland. If the offensive lineman, if Caden Proctor's the best player on the board, you're going to take him. So I like it if he were to fall to me at 23. And there'll be a little bit of a trend here because my other guy that I'd be cool if he fell to the Eagles and they took him would be Monroe Freeling, the tackle from Georgia. And he has kind of a wide variance. He's been reported to go as like high as 9, but could fall all the way back to us and maybe even you guys too. So what Freeling is cool because he's more raw of a prospect. He's more of a tackle prospect. But you could see the ceiling with him as an athletic freak. And that's something that Howie loves players like that, and if you don't have to trade up for a player like that, he just kind of falls to you. I think he'll be there.
Yeah.
There will be teams that will be tempted to take a guy like Monroe Freeling, and I also think that this draft is going to be weird because it's going. I think the first few is going to be Mendoza and Love are the first two offensive players I think that go off the board.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be, oh, do we take wide receiver? Do we take these slew of corners that are here? Do we take these offensive tackles early and make a run of them? Or do we take all the edges and make a run of edges? Like, or do we start with does someone take Mekhi Lemon higher than expected and take, and then almost runs a
and then where does Kenny and Sadiq fall in?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like one position group is going to dictate the beginning of the draft.
100%.
And the problem is it's so hard to predict which one's going to start. So I think offensive tackle, we're going to see some dudes fall that are going to be really good and are worth the pick in our first round spot. So I would have Freeling. And then the last guy I had a mix here. It's kind of cheating here, but it was a wide receiver. And the wide receivers that I personally was cool with was Denzel Boston was one of them because, AJ replacement, Jordan Tyson. Because if he fell to us, it would be because people are concerned about his health. But the Eagles are not afraid to take players like that when they're the level of talent that a guy like Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State, is. And Denzel Boston is a wide receiver from Washington. And the other guy I had interest in that was in for the Eagles for a 30 visit was receiver from Indiana, Omar Cooper Jr. So those are some of the guys that if they fell to 27 and just took them, I'm riding with, or 23 and took them, I'm cool with that. And you would hear me say that's a really good pick, quality level guy, but I wouldn't trade up for any one of those guys. If they felled me, great. If we trade up, I might be like, depending on how high we trade up, we can make the argument, but that was the point of the exercise. So let's go with your guys that you would take if you just stood pat at 27.
So if we stood pat at 27 and they fell to us, which a couple of these are likely to, the first guy would be a left tackle, and that's Caleb Lamu out of Utah.
Yeah.
He's another versatile guy. Like, a lot of my trend you're going to see is versatile players. I like that a lot. Over the past 3 years that we've done these mock drafts and our draft prospects, like, I am big on versatility. And that was a lot of the reason I was big on homie who you guys drafted for a linebacker edge last year.
Jalen.
And
or Jihad, right?
Jihad Campbell. And so those kind of things stick out to me. And from a versatility standpoint, he can start at left guard and then eventually take over the Trent Williams thing. So very similar to Proctor. His athleticism is extremely high. He's a first-round guard. He's also a first-round tackle. So, it's kind of a pick your poison type thing with him. He has great pass blocking skills out the gate. As far as run blocking is concerned, he's got development to do there. But, from a pass blocking standpoint, like, what do the 49ers struggle the most with? It's giving Brock Purdy enough time before he needs to throw the football. Like, Brock consistently scrambles out of the pocket and creates plays. And that's one of the things that, like, he is, in my opinion, a lead at. I don't want him doing that every single time. I want him to have a clean pocket because when he's throwing off of his back foot and he's moving around and he's, off balance, that's when he throws the wobblers and has 5 interception games.
Yeah.
So taking a guy like Lamu, who is an established pass blocker, immediately helps your offensive line. Mm-hmm. And to me, like, taking him at 27, he's kind of been drafted mocked all over the place as well. I've even seen him in the second round, not super consistently, but I've also seen him in the top 15. So it depends on how this board falls. If Lamu's there at 27, I'm taking him, honestly. Like, I think he's my number one. My number two is also an offensive tackle. And this is Max Ihenachor.
Yes.
He's the offensive tackle out of Arizona State. He's an impressive blend of size and athleticism. He has great footwork, great technique with his hands. Couple strong performances, notably against Texas A&M and then in the Senior Bowl, where he really kind of made a name for himself. And he has all the tools and the movement skills required for Kyle Shanahan's zone blocking scheme. And so that, to me, it's another one of those plug and play players. Yeah. And you're noticing now a little bit of a scheme that I'm putting together here. It's immediate plug and play. Mm-hmm. The 49ers are gunning for a Super Bowl. That's super evident. And if you're able to find a player who is not only young, but also has features of elite skill at the 27th spot, which you can absolutely find, especially in these offensive tackles, if they fall to you, like that to me is like the go for it type choice that you need to make. Protect your quarterback for the 17 games that he's out there and keep him healthy going into the offseason. You know, that's something that the 49ers have struggled to do. And getting guys like this who I just talked about are going to be key to doing that. So I would welcome anybody who is a plug and play tile player on the offensive line.
Love that.
My last guy is also a 30 visit, and that is Casey Concepcion.
Yes.
Now, I really like Casey. I think that he's going to be a really solid wide receiver. This would be a reckless pick, in my opinion. But I'm also kind of here for it, depending on how the board falls. He has outstanding acceleration, elite footwork, really good separation quickness. He's a great route runner. He slots himself really well in like zone coverages, especially. He finds that soft spot, and then he just sits there. And that to me is like it's really important, especially when you play with a guy like Brock Purdy, who he notices, like he struggles at times with zone coverage and reads like that. But when you consistently read a zone as a wide receiver or a tight end, and you're able to sit in a soft spot, he's going to find you every single time. And that to me is kind of one of those players that he's one of those players that strikes me as being a really solid fit with a quarterback like Brock Purdy. I think that they would work really well together. And as far as Kyle Shanahan and his scheme is concerned, the only thing I'm concerned with is his pass blocking. He's not the best blocker. And in Kyle Shanahan offenses, if you want playtime, you better know how to block. So those are the three guys that that I'm looking at taking, you know, in the first round at pick 27 without having to move around. And again, we'll see how the board falls. It's going to be pretty wild. I don't think we'll get an idea of the board until maybe pick 11 or 12 once we see kind of what the first 10 looks like and the kind of offensive players and defensive players that are taken early on. But it's going to be exciting.
For sure, it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be interesting because we don't know what trades are going to happen to, what's going to be the first big move that sets everything off. But I think what I liked about this exercise for us needing similar positions is you also named two guys who were, you know, with Ihanachor and even Concepcion and Lomu, who all visited the Eagles too. So it's one of those things where at 23, those guys that Ben just mentioned will probably be in position for the Eagles too, and I'd be happy if they took any one of those guys too. Ihanachor is a cool story because he was a late bloomer to football. He didn't really play until he got to junior college. And so he's a super late prospect too. So I think what's exciting about him is the rawness of him, where you can kind of mold him into whatever you want. And I think that's
cool.
So I think for either one of our systems, I think that'd be a cool guy if he ends up in the building. So definitely, I like our list, and this is just, you know, our initial list. We're going to do a mock draft and hope that we're going to see what kind of crazy board, you know, what the board does to us and have to pick from there. But we can't make trades, so you're going to be done by the fourth round. So maybe we just do a 4-round mock and see what happens. But stay tuned for next week, guys, and see who we end up picking before the big show. So we move on to just our last piece of news that I felt like, you know, we need to talk about. I tried to make a clip about this, and there was just too much to talk about. The Eagles, never free of drama. We talk about this all the time. Like, the Eagles are the team that people love and media love to talk about one way or another. And it's this time of year a couple weeks ago, slow time of the year, nothing really happening. So it felt like the right time for the annual Jalen Hurts hit piece where, you know, question his leadership, question his ability to learn a new scheme, call him out for, you know, being the guy who's audibling a lot of plays out of all these Kevin Patullo hitches that they have going on here. And a lot of things were called into question for Jalen Hurts, and they're like, oh, his contract extension is, you know, are you guys working on that even though he's under contract for 2 more years? I mean, you know, I haven't heard anyone mention a peep about Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, guys who all got paid at the same time as Jalen Hurts. But no one wants to bring up their extensions. Just, is Jalen Hurts going to be the quarterback of the Eagles? And what happened in these articles, there was a couple articles that came out. And like I said, it was sources around the Eagles. Jalen has been an Eagle now. He's been in that building for 6 years, going on to his 7th year, his 6th year as a full-time starter. There's a lot of people that get employed within an NFL organization. A lot of people come in and out of that building. And I was listening to the Ring is Really Special with Zach Berman and Shokapadia, and Zach Berman is very plugged in and has a really good relationship with Jalen Hurts. And he kind of echoed this. He said that, there's a lot of people that come in and out of the building for the Eagles organization. And out of, 150, 200 plus people that have interacted, spent time with Jalen Hurts, done this and that, you are bound to get 11 or 12 people who have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens all the time. And people say his attitude is stoic. Like because he's a Jordan brand athlete, and Michael Jordan, he's good friends with Jordan. He takes that Jordan mentality. He's a little aloof. And sometimes, maybe and Kobe and MJ weren't even the most beloved by their teammates, right? So I understand all of that. And we've talked about this a bunch of times, the personality of Jalen Hurts and who he kind of is.
Yeah.
How he's just wired to do what it takes to win. And that could rub people the wrong way, even though I love it. And Philly loves it. And I think the only people who don't seem to love it are Philly media and all the other fans and all the outside fans who believe he's overrated because he's been gifted this super team roster of the Avengers that people like to use on Purdy. He had his own version. But the problem is they're upset that he did it, that he got over the hump. And they said any quarterback could do it. I don't know how many teams we could look at in the past decade or so that had a roster that was very, very close to what that 2024 Eagles team was on both sides of the ball. We could look at your team in 23, the 2021 Dallas Cowboys, 2022, they had Micah, everyone going crazy, right? Yep. There were amazing teams out there that didn't get over the hump, whether it was Patrick Mahomes getting in everyone's way or, it's just, when it comes to Jalen Hurts, I think I understand the discourse now. I was blinded by the Super Bowl, and I understand now the discourse before Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl was, oh, can he even be a quarterback that can lead you to the Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Because he made it to the playoffs, so they're like, oh, but this is probably as far as he can take you. He gets to the Super Bowl and loses. They're like, he missed his chance. He can't take you back. He takes him back. Okay, they win. And then Eagles fans are like, he's a top 3 quarterback. He's the greatest. He's the GOAT. He wins all the time. Look at this. Like Jalen Hurts, yes, he did it. Because Josh Allen didn't do it. Because Burrow didn't do it. All these guys didn't do it. So we put him, and I'm very much a victim of this.
Oh, yeah.
I put him on this,
pedestal.
Oh, yeah, top 3, baby. Unquestioned skill. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But now I think it's swung way too far in the other direction with the discourse. As if he hasn't done any of the stuff that he's done, that he was carried every single year he was there, as if he wasn't a runner-up in the MVP candidacy, as if he hasn't been a 3-time Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, and he was the Super Bowl MVP, and he would have been the Super Bowl MVP if they won in 22. So, his accolades are real. In a time that he's been a starter, he's put up top 10 numbers. So I think the discourse has turned into, oh, Jalen Hurts is just overrated and he's been carried and he's not capable of carrying the team, even though he's shown that he can before. But Jalen Hurts these past couple of years has played risk-averse. His play calling has not been spectacular. Even in the Super Bowl season, A.J. Brown still felt the need to comment that the passing game was not working. And people, whenever A.J. Brown comments on the offense, people just assume, okay, well, Jalen Hurts is the one throwing in the ball, so that means Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback. Yeah. And I'm tired of it because everyone who's talking, their head coach is Ben Johnson, their head coach is Kyle Shanahan, their head coach is Sean McVay, and they're saying, oh, look at how easy this offense looks. And yeah. Jalen Hurts gets 45% of his routes were hitches last year. Yeah. So I wonder, and this year's going to be interesting because we're taking another leap of faith with a rookie coordinator in Sean Mannion, as if we haven't just did that last year. We did it with Sirianni's boy, but if we're doing it, but this is also the Eagles are calling us a Sirianni hire. I think Jalen Hurts is a coachable player. He's played in a new system every year of his career. Mm-hmm. And for those who say he's not coachable, I think it's laughable. And I think that clearly is the most casual, basic thing you can say when the quarterbacks that some of these teams have been with their coach for years.
Yeah.
And that's the struggle I find with Jalen Hurts. I do think that this year with Sean Mannion, he's going to have a breakout year. And for him, it's not the same as every other quarterback. But he hasn't hit 30 passing touchdowns before. I think if it's an offense that's a little more QB friendly, he can hit that. He might not hit 4,000 yards because maybe our O-line is up and running again and healthy, and our running game's a lot better because that's how we like to win. But I think Jalen Hurts is capable of running this offense because he's done a new offense every year.
Do you think he needs to be less risk averse in order to hit like a 30 touchdown?
No, because he had 25 last year, and that was a really bad. Like it felt ugly the whole time.
It kind of was.
And he had that 5 turnover game, which was 4 interceptions. Yeah. But he finished the year with 6 interceptions. He's the only quarterback in history to do that, to have 4 interceptions in a game and finish with 6 or less interceptions. So you like he was consistently efficient all year.
Yeah.
It was just it wasn't aggressive because he had called for aggressiveness and they were just running hitches. So it really was just. Hopefully, it really was a product of horrible play calling by Patullo, and maybe with the health of the O-line being better because it fell apart last year. We talked about it earlier in the offseason where Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson both went to the Costa Rica to go get a specific procedure for their backs. Like they're not healthy. Like they weren't healthy last year, and people seem to forget that. And I think that's I understand. You see the winner fall, and despite all this nonsense around the Eagles, we still won 11 games. Like we lost to you guys against your practice squad defense, and
you like that,
it exposed, so it was bad. But my belief in Jalen Hurts, can he do it? And the discourse that he can't frustrates me because he's won it all. What more does he have to do to prove to you that, like, to prove to these folks that he's capable of being just like he doesn't need to be the best.
Yeah.
He just needs to win games, which is what he does.
So, I mean, I'm going to say this. Like, when you guys won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, it quieted down on the front, on the Jalen front. Like, because he shut up all the haters. Because he made it back to the Super Bowl, like you said. He won the Super Bowl. And nobody had anything to say. Because it was like, okay, like,
they just said he carried.
Did it. Yeah. Well, okay. They were always going to say that anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
But if your name's not Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or any of the top guys, you're going to be considered a carried. But it got relatively quiet on that Jalen front. The problem is that he followed it up with a bad year. Altogether a bad year.
Yeah.
This year. Yeah, 11 games. Yeah, like did something historically, but like it wasn't a great year from the quarterback position. It wasn't a great year from an offensive perspective. Mm-hmm. A lot of that has to do with who the offensive coordinator was in Patullo. But I will say, like, recency bias is always going to be a factor. Yeah. Like, you guys could very well run it back and win a Super Bowl this year or the next year, and Jalen could have 30 touchdowns, and they're still going to say he got carried. They're still going to find something. Like, this is like the reality of having a quarterback that wasn't drafted, number 1 overall, wasn't drafted in like a first round and been consistently put on a pedestal since he was a rookie. Like, Brock Purdy is, I'm sorry to bring him up right now.
No,
but like,
this is good.
This is the thing that I deal with. Brock Purdy is the coolest freaking story in the NFL that I've seen maybe ever. Like, last pick overall, not expected to start a damn game in his career. He gets thrown in because of all these injuries, gets thrown into the waters, and just outperforms. Yeah. And then the next year they bring him, they bring back Jimmy Garoppolo for a quarterback battle, and it's like, okay, well, who's going to get the start? And then, it's like Brock Purdy has done nothing but prove that he's a capable quarterback. Mm-hmm. And yet they're always going to find reasons why he's not a capable quarterback.
Yeah.
And even though Brock had really one missed throw in the Super Bowl, they're going to say it was his fault that they didn't win the Super Bowl. When he was technically the better quarterback, just didn't put together the game-winning drive.
He walked off the field with the lead.
So, every single time.
Yeah.
So, this is an unfortunate reality that, like, we as Philadelphia fans and we as San Francisco fans kind of have to come to. It's like, our quarterbacks are damn good at football.
Mm-hmm.
And they know how to win. They've proven it. They know how to make it to the big stage. One knows how to win the big stage. The other's working on it. He's working on it, right?
Yeah, he'll get
the reality is, like, they're never going to get their props.
Right.
But we don't necessarily need the props.
No, we don't.
And this is what I'm trying to tell you now.
Yeah.
Because you recognize, like, people can light up Brock all day long now, and I'm just like, say what you want.
Yeah.
Like, I send you stuff and I laugh at it because I'm like, yeah, look at this guy. Like, look at this clown not believing in my guy. And I send you Jalen stuff and I laugh at it.
Yeah.
Because, like, it prompts a reaction out of you, which I thoroughly enjoy, because internally when stuff like that happens to Brock, I'm like, don't talk about my Pookie like that. But reality is, these are damn good football players. And Jalen, like, having to consistently deal with a new system every single year and saying that he's uncoachable, there's also a factor of it that's like, isn't he sick of that? Can he not feel sick of running back a new coordinator every single season? Because I'm going to be honest with you, like, again, on the Josh Allen thing, if it was Josh Allen and he got a new coordinator every single year, they would say, well, he has a new coordinator every single year. They would also say he has the benefit of the doubt to have to be called uncoachable at times because he wants to run something his own way because he's had to adjust consistently to a new scheme.
Yeah.
That'll never be said about Jalen. So it's frustrating. It sucks. I will also say it's a lot of false narratives around Philadelphia in general that, this kind of plays a part of as well.
I think the big thing with the Jalen discourse too is it doesn't feel like it's just the outside. It feels like the Philly media, like the local media, like, pours gas on the fire.
Yeah.
Like, social media, all these outside fans are like, doing their stuff, talking crap like all other fans should. We always want to hate on everyone else, which is fine. But then when that hate comes from, when these stories are being manufactured or being talked about by the radio show hosts, they're like, it's like their favorite topic to question Jalen or, his ability or whether he's good enough or whether he, they had a conversation last week on WIP. Oh, would we entertain, would the Raiders entertain the trade for the number 1 pick so we can get Mendoza if I've been giving them Hurts? Like, other team, have you heard any Niners people do that crap with Brock? Like,
I mean, Grant
Cohn, yeah. It's the one guy.
That's about it.
I love Grant. No, but it's but you're right. Like, I think that's what makes it more frustrating too. Is like the way that some of these local Philly reporters talk to the Eagles fans as if like, oh, you guys are dumb for not thinking this way, or for like, guys, it makes perfect sense that Jalen's gone, and they, So I want to pivot now. So that's the frustrating part. But I believe in Jalen. I think Jalen's gonna have an awesome year. I think that we'll make our predictions for bold predictions. Mine's gonna be a Jalen take, and I'm gonna have one ready to go. I promise. But another piece. So this will be final thoughts. I think this is more of a final thought than anything. This final topic, but it involves the Eagles indirectly, but also directly potentially.
It's direct.
For those who don't, this is gossip. This is tabloid stuff, right? So, the big news that was circulating social media, because it wasn't in the mainstream media last week, was these photos of one NFL reporter, Diana Russini, and one NFL head coach, Mike Vrabel. Oh. And there's a lot to unpack here. So for those who, don't know the story, it's so Diana Russini has been recently has been a vocal. She's been a part of Philly media. She's been on it a lot. She was the 94 WIP, which is the local radio station in Philadelphia, Insider of the Year. They gave her that. They gave her that honor. So she's been a huge part of the Philadelphia media as like a guest and things like that. But she was also one of the main orchestrators of the AJ Brown disdain. AJ's been unhappy, and that was a lot of like the offense and how they were performing. But she took it to another level. She said AJ Brown is going to be traded. And she really started pushing this from week 4 of last year is when it kind of started, when the Eagles were 4-0, by the way. They started with, AJ Brown is miserable. He's going to want to trade out of here. Here are some options like the Patriots. And we're like, okay, you can name a name, whatever. But then she really kind of pushed that throughout the course of the year, up to the trade deadline. They're like, oh, look out for the Patriots, even though it wasn't like officially reported yet. But everyone kind of seemed to run away with it in the offseason. Um, and we find out here that Diana Russini and Mike Vrabel have this kind of special relationship that maybe
That's a word for it.
that maybe defies the ethical code of reporter source relationship, right? So the big deal was not only it's not that they were photographed together. It was where
Yes.
and when they were photographed together. This was right when the NFL owners meeting take place. This was a couple weeks ago in Arizona. That's where the owners meetings are. They take place at the same hotel. It's like a super fancy motel or hotel where all the coaches, reporters, GMs, owners get together and answer questions from the media and stuff like that. It's a way to get information. But separate from that, a couple hours away, there's this private couples resort in Arizona that costs about $2,500 to $4,000 a room. Private bungalows known to be romantic getaways.
Wow.
And Mike Vrabel and Diana Russini were pictured multiple times. And here's the thing: there's only one like real damning photo in this, and it's a photo of them interlocking fingers and like from a distance.
Yeah.
This on top of a rooftop, one of the bungalow rooftops by themselves. And there's more juice to the story. When these photos came out, Diana, Rossini, and Mike were like, "Oh, this is laughable. Nothing's going on." Diana was like, "Oh, this was a trip. This is out of context. It doesn't include the 6 other people that were there with us." And we're like, "Oh, okay, so this is a group thing, even though these photos that are being taken look intimate and you're by yourself." Not to mention the photos. When we talk about the type of photos, the photos from them on the rooftop were taken from like 200 yards plus away, as if someone was paid, like a private investigator almost was. It wasn't seem like me taking out my iPhone and taking a picture.
Yeah.
This photo was from like 200 yards away, and you get this beautiful. The photographer cooked. You get this beautiful backdrop of the mountains and the sunset and stuff. They're just up there hugging and stuff. It was bad. So it looked, and the conversation became, I've known you since you were 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 30 now, guys. Like, it's a long time. Not once in my life have I interlocked hands with this man. And he's my closest friend, my brother, basically. And you know my wife.
Yeah.
I know your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
If we were in those photos as in Mike Vrabel's position, do you think we would have survived coming home to our significant other in that spot?
Oh,
yeah,
never.
So you get these kind of photos, and they're denying that it is because, but again, they're both married, so there's just a moral aspect to it. And the big thing is, Mike Vrabel was also AJ Brown's coach in his time in Tennessee. They have still maintained a close relationship, which Mike Vrabel has said that I still text AJ Brown. Like, we're still close. So then Eagles fans were like, "Whoa, this feels like a coincidence that, wait, are Mike Vrabel and Diana Russini having an affair?" Which, for I'm not going to be the ethics police and or the moral police and say, if you want to cheat on your spouse, that's on you, bro. Like, that's your poor decision.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying like I'm not going to be like a throw stones type of guy. But that sparks the idea of what's more important is it not that it's extramarital. It's that it's a head coach in the NFL and a lead NFL reporter, and she worked, and this is important, for The Athletic. Also, the parent company is the New York Times, who ended up posting this freaking thing. So it was she had worked for ESPN previously, and they have rules against this,
Mhm.
where that is against their ethical code.
Yes.
Having those kind of relationships with your source, especially for Mike Vrabel. It's not so much that he gets in trouble at work. It's more of a home problem for him. He gets to have to explain, does he have to explain his behavior to the players? That's a different question. He's a male in this situation. It's a different world. For her accountability gets shot because of all these, what's it called? I want to say opinions, but insinuations of people kind of connecting the dots.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, she denied it, and the Athletic came out and said, we're doing an investigation. Okay, and then a couple of days pass, and then we get a resignation letter from her. And she didn't, and in this resignation, I don't have it in front of me, but she didn't say that it wasn't happening, number one. She said that it was rumors that were, she's like, it was things that were spread by the media, which another interesting tidbit, this has been out for over a week. And now, once she put in a resignation letter, is when certain national media pundits were talking about it. Up until then, they were very hush hush because they're like, nothing official has been announced. But for a whole week, we've been talking about it, and it hasn't been reported at all, which means it's just been the social media of it all. But so she doesn't take accountability, says that, I've been professional my whole career. And she's, that's the hard part about this, right? That's what makes this interesting. But again, it connects the Eagles because she's been a very said a lot of negative stuff about Philly recently. Her husband is an Eagles fan, and she has been married to him since 2020, and there have been resurfaced clips of her crapping on her husband on her podcasts and other shows she joins on, whether it's joking or not.
Many times.
It's like, it's weird. It's not a great look. And she also, when talking crap about her husband, who is a devout Eagles fan, who's like us, like all us crazy Eagles fans. That. Yeah, she's like, she trolls him basically. Their relationship is kind of like, she shits on him for being an Eagles fan and how he reacts and all this stuff and how seriously he takes it because we're a loyal ass fan base, baby. But so that was another thing. So again, you're orchestrating this rumor for AJ Brown. You're pushing this narrative for AJ Brown. You're in this suspiciously close relationship with the Patriots head coach, who you've been reporting AJ Brown is like dead set to go to the to the Patriots, even though AJ Brown has never once actually requested a trade.
Right.
So it brought up a lot of questions. And for those who had said, like, there have been Eagles media members who were defending her, saying her sources, she's always right. Like, she's been right time and time and time again. And the Eagles Twitter definitely community noted they provided proof of times that she was not wrong or not right. And when you ask Grok what she's right about, surprisingly, two of them that she's been accurate on have been during her time in Tennessee with Mike Vrabel. So that was an interesting tidbit. That's kind of like the nuts and bolts of it all. But I thought it was interesting. It's tabloid because nothing's going to happen. Really, like, the Eagles fans want tampering, but they can't really get that kind of proof.
Well, and this is the shitty part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, like, she's resigning. Why the hell isn't the NFL involved? Because there is such a clear, there's two angles here. There is a very clear, like, avenue for tampering, right? There's ever so clear. I don't even have to explain it. The other side of it is, and this is interesting. So the NFL has a code of conduct that coaches have to abide by. In that code, it includes requirement of high character and ethical behavior, both on and off the field. Is it ethical if I go on a vacation separate from my wife, my girlfriend, whatever, and it basically looks like out there having what looks to be an affair? Like, if it comes down to it and it looks to be an affair, that's not ethical.
Well,
and this is a guy who's all about, like, accountability, and Mike Vrabel is all about accountability, and, like, meanwhile, he's not taking any media availability prior to the draft.
Yeah.
Because the only thing he wants to answer right now is football related stuff. He's completely dodging the accountability side of this whole thing. Yep. It's not a good look. And the fact that the NFL won't even open an investigation kind of bugs me. But this is, I mean, the NFL has done this before. They don't even bat an eye at certain things that, especially involving women, that like they should probably be.
Well, and I mean, if you look at which organization we're talking about right now, it's the Patriots and their owner, you know, with his history. And so it's just an interesting one. And again, unless the Athletic comes out and says, "Oh, we found more. This is what happened," and it was serious, and we're like, "Oh, it was really that deep," then maybe they'll investigate. They'll be like, "Hey, show us those texts to AJ, bro. But then he can like break his phone and stuff like that. But
It just bugs me because they've opened tampering investigations for less evidence before.
They when the Eagles acquired Saquon,
Yes,
his college coach had talked about Saquon and the Eagles in like a reference, and it was like right before the trade was announced. So they're like, "Is that tampering?" So,
but there's no angle here for the NFL to open, not to accuse, but to open an investigation into this whole thing. It's just wild.
It's just sus. It was really interesting, but Philadelphia Twitter was dunking on her and her credibility. She'll probably end up on Barstool because they don't give a crap about credibility over there. So they're fun loving doing whatever, say whatever they want over there. But it'll be it'll be interesting. So that was the final thoughts. This was a jam-packed episode, guys.
Thank you for sticking with us.
Yes, I know. Now the hiatus, now that our hiatus is done, we're back here weekly for a little bit because I'm going to have to take another hiatus because I'm welcoming a new member to the family. So it's going to be an interesting, stressful time. But we'll still definitely, we'll still be operating. It'll be fine. We'll still get plenty of shows for you guys, and we got plenty of off-season stuff to talk about. So stay tuned because this was episode 126 of the Behind the Back podcast. You can hit us up at behindthebackpod13@gmail.com. For all y'all watching on video, all of our social media links are up above. For all y'all audio listeners out there, the links to the descriptions are down below. Please give us a like, subscribe, rate, review, and follow the show. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm Marcos Coden Negron. We love you guys. Beside me here, as always, is
Ben the Jet Rats.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Peace.